better sound. Yeah, ఇది
అది ఏం చేయాలి కొంచెం అది ఇదైతే చాలా ఇది సో తనతో అంటే స్టేబుల్
So hello and welcome to the inaugural Echoes of Joy conference in the heart of downtown Austin. It's such a joy to be together with like-minded community seeking positive personal and communal growth. My name is Emma Ivaturi, your moderator for today. I'm a meditation trainer in the Heartfulness movement. And life seems to be accelerating beyond our grasp. We grapple with it all feels overwhelmingly complex, leaving us in search of direction and longing for relief. Today's event is intended to be a collaborative platform, providing insight and practical resources aimed at enhancing mental, emotional, and overall well-being. This summit is designed to be a confluence of scientific researchers, experts in well-being, and holistic healthcare professionals. Their insights will give us the tools together, bringing hope in our communities, one person at a time. Echoes of Joy is brought to you by the Heartfulness Institute, a global nonprofit, educational, and humanitarian organization. The Institute's positive impact on sleep patterns, anxiety, and stress, with results published in various peer-reviewed publications. The techniques offered are straightforward and can be easily integrated into our daily lifestyles, offering long-lasting benefits, which is why I'm standing here today. Today's event will feature a range of activities, including an immersive guided relaxation and meditation session, a panel discussion with well-being experts, an audience Q&A, and a wellness tables outside for practical resources with networking opportunities with panelists and speakers after the session. So we trust you will leave with practical and inspiring tools for your well-being. So let us commence and explore the resonating approach to patient care. Acknowledges that not all medical issues can be resolved solely through medications, but also through skillfully determining lifestyle changes before more invasive measures. Beyond his medical expertise, Dr. Parmar's interest in heartfulness meditation enhances his ability to connect with patients on a more profound heart-to-heart level. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Well, hello, awesome. Well, it's been one of those times right in Texas where it's warm and then it's cold and you've got all the bluebonnets coming out now. It's fantastic. So, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here in Austin. As Emma said, I'm not only am I doing that, but actually I happen to be a cardiologist, practicing cardiologist at Baylor Hospital in Dallas. So you can ask yourself, what is a cardiologist doing here? Well, in my opinion, but also the non-physical, emotional, right? We can describe it that way. Heartfulness meditation has helped me significantly in my day-to-day life, my family life, family and friends' life, right? Life at work. We all face tough challenges on a day-to-day basis. How do we deal with them? And what meditation has done for me is given me the peace of mind, calmness, and clarity of thought. That's why I'm passionate about meditation and heartfulness meditation. The Heartfulness Institute is a non-sectarian institute, educational, humanitarian organization that really teaches meditation for emotional well-being and overall well-being. We have research data that has shown reduction in stress, burnout reduction. So, having said all that, we thought we wanted to share this with everyone, and that's why today we launched a series, the first in the series of this conference, Echoes of Joy. So what does joy mean? Joy, talking about joy, means there's something else on the flip side, right? Is there there's soreness, there's anxiety, there's stress. All these things are there. So how do we learn to transcend things? Transcend through sorrow, transcend through anxiety, to reach a level of happiness and joy. Then we can ask ourselves, what does happiness mean? Happiness is an episode. So it's a result of a good experience, and then we feel happy, right? Whereas joy is a state of being, a state of the mind. That's in connection with calmness and clarity of thought at the level of the heart. We can just sit back and think of a joyful moment when we get that joyful feeling. And when we get that, we've heard about these neurotransmitters, neurohormones, right? Dopamine, endorphin, serotonin, all these fancy words that are released in our brain that go to the joy centers and triggers joy. So, how do we trigger those hormones? Well, you can exercise. You've heard about runners getting the endorphin rush. So we can do that. But we can also learn to meditate and get that same hormone release and get that same joy feeling. Heartfulness research over the past 70 years has shown that we can reach a level of calmness, clarity. All these things can be triggered simply by meditation. We can reach a level of contentedness and clarity of thought. Once we reach that, then we can automatically be in that plane. So today, after the conference, I want you to remember 3 things from her. Number 2, it's inexpensive. And number 3, It's easily delivered. We want to collaborate with your organizations here and beyond. As I said, this is the first in the series of Echoes of Joy. We want to collaborate with your wellness sections in your global nonprofits, your corporate companies, the holistic yoga organizations, and governmental organizations, and many more. So, let me try to finish over here by saying the takeaway points. So the takeaway points today are that we're going to empower ourselves and learn from each other. We're going to experience the power of meditation, and together we can be a catalyst of change in society. Thank you for your attention. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you for that framework. So now it's time to invite our experts for inner well-being and have this insightful conversation together. And when asked by one of India's most beloved cinema icons, Shah Rukh Khan, to rate his happiness scale from 1 to 10, our first panelist didn't miss a beat before confidently declaring his happiness on a 9.23 out of 10. Dr. Raj Raghunathan, a Zale Centennial Professor of Business at the Macomb School of Business in UT Austin, is a man whose life work revolves around the pursuit and study of intellect with infectious enthusiasm for well-being. He stands at the forefront of global happiness research. His book, If You're So Smart, Why Are You Happy?, has been How to Find Hearts cross-continentally, having been translated into 13 languages, and has been featured in prestigious publications across the globe. And his popular TED Talk, A Short Course on Happiness, has been seen by more than 17 million viewers. Through his research, insight, and I dare say heartfulness, Dr. Raghunathan has committed to helping each and every one of us become our own 9.23. So please welcome him to the stage. Panelist is no stranger to creating board. She worked with armed forces members, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist, and she has been an adjunct faculty member with the University of Texas Health Science Center, San Antonio. She is a shining light in her field, having received multiple awards recognizing her professional excellence, including the Edward Randall Medal for Academic Excellence, the Wright State University Academy of Medicine Outstanding Resident Award, and the Distinguished Laughlin Fellow Merit Award and the Merititious Service Award, among others. She's currently the president and CEO of her own private practice, psychiatric services, to all ages in the community. Today she'll be helping us learn how we can become the pilots of our own lives to improve our mental well-being and skillfully fly through any challenges we might face. So welcome, Dr. Vieros. Thank you for your presence here today. And our final panelist is Joshua Pollack. He's the Executive Director of Heartfulness at Work, a wellness initiative providing stress management tools to corporate institutions. He co-authored the internationally best-selling book, The Heartfulness Way, a practical guide to incorporating heart-centered meditation into daily life. This book is a transformative approach. Joshua has discussed the benefits of meditation across major U.S. news channels, including ABC, NBC, CBS, and most recently PBS. There's a documentary coming out shortly, and is known for making these practices relevant to a wide range of audiences. And long before he was studying the music of the heart through meditation, Joshua was creating music including the legendary Indian composer and vocalist A.R. Rahman, the composer of original scores such as Slumdog Millionaire. Welcome, Joshua. So we'd like to start off this panel by inviting Joshua, if you don't mind just taking it out, by doing a quick heartfulness guided relaxation just to set the tone for the day.
One thing I suggest is just put your phones on silent. Okay? And sit comfortably. You can rest your back against the back of the chair if you like. And close your eyes. Close your eyes very softly and gently. You can wiggle your toes, just your toes. Relax all the muscles in your feet. Your feet from the earth. And this energy relaxes, soothes, and heals your body, relaxing the muscles of your feet, moving upward gently, relaxing your ankles. Allow this energy to rise and relax your lower legs, your calf muscles, and relax your knees. Relax your upper legs, your quads and hamstrings, your thigh muscles. Relax your hips. Let your stomach muscles relax. All of your abdominal muscles. And relax all the muscles of your chest. Relaxing your upper back muscles, your shoulder blades, and relax your shoulders. Let them feel like liquid, melted relax all the muscles of your forearms, your wrists, your hands, fingers and fingertips. And gently bring your attention to your neck and relax the muscles of your neck. And relax your mouth, your tongue, your lips, even your teeth. And all the muscles of your face. Let your eyes be very softly and gently closed. Let your eyes be relaxed. Your forehead and your temples. Your lobes. Let the relaxation spread to the top of your head, to your crown. And to the back of your head. And very gently, if there's any part of your body which feels uncomfortable or tense, take a moment for this. Finally, bring your attention, bring your awareness to your heart, there on the left side of your chest. And think or suggest to yourself that there is love and light within your heart, and rest with this thought or sensation for just a moment. That's all.
Thank you, Joshua. Praise. I'd love to hear from our guests today. If you don't mind passing the mic down to Dr. Raghunathan. Your work, Dr. Stern, is from your TED Talk and your Coursera course and your Psychology Today articles, they all focus, of course, on happiness. And what sparked your interest in studying happiness formally, and as your life's pursuit, and how do you cultivate joy in your own life?
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this workshop/session. And I got my MBA, as I said, in India. One of the things that I noticed when I went back to India and I was meeting up with my batchmates from 15 years ago. I got my MBA 15 years prior to 2006 and 7. Is that there's very little correlation between academic success and career success, right? We tend to believe that the students who get the highest grade point averages tend to do best in life. In fact, in one of the convocations, the president even said something along those lines that, the people who get the higher grades tend to be called bosses later on in life. But in fact, what a lot of the research shows is that there's very little correlation between academic and career success. And career success depends a lot more on common sense and practical intelligence, as they call it, and social intelligence, solving day-to-day problems in a better fashion, and so on. And I also noticed another thing, which is that there was, if anything, even lower correlation between career success and what you might call life success among a lot of my colleagues and batchmates. Basically, people who have done really well for themselves in terms of their careers weren't necessarily the ones that were also leading happy, fulfilling lives. And I thought to myself, as a professor, what is the ultimate aim? What are we trying to achieve? And yeah, we want to give our students skills and tools to do well in their life and achieve career success, but it seemed to me that the more important thing that we're trying to impart to students is how to lead a happy life, how to lead a fulfilling life, and by extension, how to spread that happiness among the community or cities and obviously families in which they live. And I felt that I had evidence that career success doesn't necessarily lead to happiness and life success. And so this evoked a little bit of curiosity in me, because these were the people who were doing really well in terms of, money, fame, power, etc., status, but weren't necessarily happy. And so I felt like it was almost a duty of me and other educators to kind of address this big question: what leads to happiness? What leads to meaning? What leads to fulfillment? If it's not career success, then what could it be? And so that's how I started putting this course together about 15 years ago. And there weren't a lot of schools, forget about business schools, but even other departments like psychology or philosophy that were offering courses on happiness. And since then, there have been other courses that have been introduced. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to teach this course for long, and even if it would get approved by the dean's office, because who thinks about happiness when they think about business school, right? I mean, most people think of money and all those things, but not necessarily happiness. But I was very fortunate in that the dean's office granted me the permission to teach a course like this, and it's been 15 years, and as you mentioned, I have a book, I have a couple of TED Talks, and so on. So that's how it started. And as for cultivating joy in my own life, I think ultimately as human beings, perhaps as living beings, we don't really need a lot to be happy. I think that if we have something that we find interesting to do, ideally it pays money. So therefore, finding something interesting to do at work is an important, some level of physical fitness and mental fitness, ability to see things in the right spirit or in the right way, and have a good perspective on life. So those things, if you have those things, you don't need the fancy vacations in Italy or a fancy car or any of those things. You can have a lot of joy. And so a lot of the journey, I think, is also about learning to be content. So I would say that that's how I cultivate my joy.
Just by contentment. By contentment.
But yeah, so a combination of these things, I would say. I think the contentment part of it is got to do with having the right attitude, being mentally fit, so to speak.
Thank you for that reframe. I think it's easy to get caught in the expectations of checking certain boxes. We'll just automatically into it. So we wanted to move to Dr. Piero. We mentioned at the beginning of the summit that we are in this fast-paced world and facing a lot of stressors that are new. And you've had a lot of experiences with people who have struggles, and they have to deal with those struggles and cultivate a certain baseline in their life. So what have you found that you've been using? What tools do you find? Is there a blueprint for happiness? And what do you call upon in your practice to help people get to that stability?
Well, first I want to thank everyone for inviting me. I want to go back real quick and revisit. Well, let's talk about the blueprint. So if you look at a blueprint and you look at a bunch of different people's blueprint for happiness, they're all going to look different. But what you will find is that they all have a foundation, right? This is what's really important. And so it's the foundation that I would focus on with my patients. And so let's go back to what is joy versus that brings on happiness, right? And most of us have experienced this, and we're able to have it. So this is something that's externally derived. Now, joy is an inner state of being. It's a sense of peace and wellness that, for example, we lose the loved one. We are able to still experience that negative emotion in the moment, right? Again, it's external. But we have this inner sense of joy that will help us to come back out of that when the time has passed, right? Is to cultivate joy. And so, going back to the basics, right? We go to the foundation. Always, if you come to see me, I'm always going to focus on the basics. Are you sleeping? How are you eating? Are you getting movement in? And my patients all know that if they're coming to see me, we're going to have to talk about sleep hygiene, right? This is my soapbox. There's very little in this world that we can control. But most of us, unless we have a newborn, right, we can control our sleep patterns. And so I would say, when it comes to that, if you want more on sleep hygiene, look it up. If you don't already know about it, there's a lot of different ways that you can help yourself sleep better. But you want to make sure that you get electronics turned off about 1 to 2 hours before you want to go to sleep. And that's a really great time to self-reflect, to meditate, to connect with your loved ones in a meaningful way, like true intimacy, whether that's emotional or physical, reading a book to your children, or even better yet, having them read their favorite book to you, right? These are moments where we are connecting, truly connecting to another human being, or ourselves, right, in the case of meditation. And so you really want to take the time, at that time, for stillness and self-reflection. That's going to help your sleep, and we've already heard of the various other benefits of meditation, for example, right? So, sleep. And then we want to make sure that we're moving. I recommend 30 minutes 3 times a week of cardiovascular exercise, because that gets blood flowing to the brain, it takes vital nutrients, and it also removes waste from the brain. 2 servings of fruit, 5 servings of vegetables, and then making sure we're incorporating healthy fats. Again, I go over all this, the basics. And then I also tell them, enjoy life. If you're going to a party, eat the cake. Enjoy the cake with your loved ones, but be mindful about the cake. Really think about this wonderful thing that you are celebrating, and you're enjoying it, and it's really delicious. And it's not something we do every day, right? So in the most part, we try to help. So that's the basic foundation. And then I really focus, once I feel like they have a good foundation, then I move on to helping them discover who they are. Many times when people come to me, they're kind of lost. And so then we talk about stillness, about self-reflection, learning who you are, because many times they've skipped that developmental stage. And so self-reflection, thinking about things, using meditation to do that, or journaling, or taking hikes and really self-reflecting on how they're feeling, their internal state, and what that means and what it's talking about. And then I encourage them to practice gratitude, right? Even when something bad happens to us, we find ourselves really focused on the negative. I want them to, I say, okay, so it seems insurmountable, tell me the good, tell me what are the positives. And sometimes my patients have a really hard time finding the positive thing. And so that's when I go back to the simple. Let's talk basic. Did you sleep in a bed last night? Did you have food on your plate this morning? And then, I have frequently learned gratitude gratitude throughout my life, right? And I may even tell them the story. For example, I was stationed overseas, and they separate their hot and their cold. And let me tell you, it's no fun to go hot, cold, or cold, hot, and try to get warm, hotter. So, like, the simple things, and I want them to learn to always reframe things and know that there is something positive. This helps to keep a very healthy perspective, right? Yes, things may seem insurmountable, but there's always good to be had, and to be found, and to be appreciated. So, keep that healthy perspective. The other thing I tell them is to live with intentionality. So, there's very little that we control in this world, but our decisions are within our control. So, if you decide that you should limit your social media, which I recommend, then be very intentional about it. I'm going to check my social media twice a day for 15 minutes and set a timer. Your kids are watching you, so this is a really good thing to demonstrate to them, right? If you tell them that there's no social media at the table, with intentionality, you will leave your cell phone away from the table and not check your email or any other things that come through at the table, right? So, if you are going to spend money, be intentional about how you spend your money. Set a budget. Again, your kids are watching. So whatever you decide to do, just have intentionality. That is your power, right? We have power, and that is what your choices that we make. And lastly, give of yourself. So many times people feel like, I don't have a support system, and this is where the giving of yourself is really important. So you may feel overwhelmed, but if a friend of yours is struggling, give your time to that person. Take an hour to help them move. This is going to reap benefits for you. Not only do you feel good, but you took time out of your day and you did something positive and kind, which, by the way, is really good for your mental health. But when you are now in the struggle, guess who's going to raise their hand and say, hey, do you need to watch your dog while you do this? It's going to be these people that you can also give to. And it also goes for giving to your community. So, find something you're passionate about and contribute to the world around you. Because again, this is going to establish a sense that you have control over your life, that you are important, that you contribute, and that what you're doing has meaning.
Those are really great reframes, and just revisiting those basics and cultivating that inner sense of wisdom and following that. Thank you for sharing all those insights. So we want to move to Josh. Thank you. So you've been meditating for 22 years now, and I wanted to know a little bit about your coming and what about the Heartfulness practice specifically made you stick around for so long.
Well, I think that every day there's something else that makes me stick around. I won't say it's the same thing the entire time. But one thing it's never been is force of habit. The original thing that appealed to me about it really resonates with today's topic. Because I started, and in that period of my life, right? Because if I was by myself, probably I was a little bored. Maybe I didn't like being with myself. Maybe I wasn't happy by myself. Maybe I thought I could be more happy if I were doing something fun with somebody else. And the absurd and ridiculous part of it was probably anybody I ended up hanging out with, it's probably the same way. So I didn't have any happiness. I was trying to get it from somebody else. That person was also trying to find it through me. The things that I discovered took me by surprise was when I would meditate. I would meditate early in the morning. And I said, okay, why not? Let's try it. I wasn't a morning person, but I said, let's try it. Let's give it a chance. And it was a struggle. I didn't know what in the world I was doing. Just, my thoughts going, Even if meditation was a struggle, somehow what I would find was by the end of meditation, this feeling would bubble up inside me of really impressed. I was really happy to hear, this a bubbling up of joy inside me. This is something I felt took me by surprise. It came from nowhere. And it would just keep going, throughout my day. And I've realized that joy is something that doesn't have to have a reason. And that's something I never knew before I meditated. I thought, if I'm going to be happy, I have to go do something for that. you know? So I thought happiness is the same way, it's a commodity. So I realized, no, it's not a commodity. It's something inborn. It's something that's a part of you. It's something that's innate. And as an adult, this was a deal. I saw this the other day, actually, because my son, he's 7, right? And I saw some adult talking to him. And this adult said, hey, what do you like? He was like, well, I can tell you something that makes me unhappy. I was like, yeah, but what makes you happy? And he was just scratching his head. And finally he said, look, that proves it. You know, we somehow forget all this. So, you know, for me, meditation wasn't something that, you know, it made me happy to meditate. But somehow, in that natural state, well, it's a happy state, actually. Or, sorry, a joyful state. I feel very insecure about the words of that. Yeah.
Thank you. I think I can relate to that too, just having a few years under my belt doing this. So smart, why are you happy? And I definitely can relate to having gone through rigorous academic, getting these accolades, and then feeling a sense of it not meaning anything. But can we have both? Is there a balance? And as you're teaching students, especially at the university, how do you see them shift that mentality? Let's peel the curtain back a little bit and see what the process of these students is to face that difference and come to understand what boxes, once they're checked, will provide that, and then say, hey, wait, before you graduate, actually, let's really dive deep and see what's really meaningful.
Yeah, so I would say that it is possible to be both successful in conventional terms, in other words, you know, wealthy and have status and recognition and fame even and things like that, and be happy. So that was your question, like, can we have both? I would say that it is possible. If you're born in a war-struck area, then, you know, I think it's going to be tough. That's the truth, right? I mean, you can tap into some of this inner joy, but even to have the liberty to think that you can do it, you need for most of us sitting in this room, in this wonderful country, with access to all basic resources and things like that, I think the most important kind of perspective to adopt here, if you want to be happy and to have some level of conventional success, is to prioritize happiness rather than prioritize success. Most of us are taught to study hard and get good grades so that we can get a good job, and get into a good university so that you can get a good job. Because and that those things are assumed to bring you happiness. But in fact, what a lot of the research shows is that life, and a very important part of that is going to be, as Melinda said, you know, this foundation of leading a healthy lifestyle. You know, that's, I think, absolutely non-negotiable. If you do not lead a healthy lifestyle, if you're not getting adequate sleep and eating healthy and moving around sufficiently, then forget about everything else, right? So once you prioritize happiness, and once you understand what the science has to say, I mean, my route is scientific, and it's not the only way to get to the recipe for leading a happier life, but I do think it is a reliable approach to use. And if you look at what the science says, it says, you know, do these things, you know, lead a healthy lifestyle, be in general somebody who is grateful for the things you have rather than resentful for the things you don't. Be in general a person who looks out for other people. And that's important because I think that if you're strategic, then you're waiting for somebody else to repay you back, what Adam Grant calls a matcher mindset. You want to have a giver mindset because ultimately your happiness is going to be dependent more on the narrative that you have about who you are rather than whether they reciprocate back. And if you have the narrative that, look, no matter my problems, I can still rise above them in order to help other people out. Therefore, I'm like a king or a queen, you know, I can, etc. So, if you prioritize happiness and you figure out what are the set of things you need to do in terms of your behaviors and habits, but also in terms of the attitudes and mindsets that you adopt, therefore, you're more reliably in a more positive state most of the time, whether you want unity or contentment, you're more reliably in those states than you are in the opposite set of states that are more counterproductive. Then success will come as a byproduct. And that's the way to arrive at a win-win solution, rather than to, you're wedded to the yardsticks of success in order to feel happy, and those goalposts and yardsticks will keep changing. The more money you make, the more money you want to make in order to sustain the same level of happiness. And was there a second part of your question?
There was, but I think in the interest of time.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was good. Just reminders of those points. So Dr. Fierros pressures that we haven't encountered before until recent years, especially with social media, with cyberbullying, with issues of identity and climate that we're in.
Return, never. It's always just, it's its own regard. It's its own regard. Okay, so going back to your question. So I would say, first of all, I know that if I had a cell phone, I would never have slept, right? I mean, I say this to my adolescents in the presence of their parents, as I'm helping their parents set limits with their adolescents, right? Because this is one of the biggest arguments that I have between adolescents and their parents is their social media, their cell phone. And so I want them to hear me saying that setting a limit is important. But I also want parents to hear that, have empathy about why it's hard, right? And I would never sleep, and we just talked about the importance of sleep, right? Or the feeling of happiness really, that they're having uninterrupted sleep, and that they understand that that's a priority. I would say tell parents 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and schedule it every, Monday for this kid, Tuesday for another kid, and let them know that that is playing. And this is a time to get to know your kids. It's not a time to lecture. Color, and they color the sky green. It is not your job to say, you got it wrong, the sky should be blue. It is getting to remind your child and to know them. This is what I call investment. And I talk a lot about investment, right? Or depositing, putting it into your bank, right? If we opened up a bank account and didn't put any money in it, how crazy would it be to look at it every week and say, nothing's grown? Well, of course it's not grown. Zero doesn't grow anything, right? You have to invest to expect a return. Right? They want more, they're trying to exert themselves, they're trying to find themselves. This investment of time, and when I say that, I mean, like at the end of every month, I recommend all electronics are handed over to you guys for the time, right? So that's one. And then two, parents should listen to their kids with empathic ears. And so when teenagers come to you, first of all, it's kind of harder as it teens. They turn to their peers more often, right? So if we don't have the difficulties, haven't lived the years that we have lived, they don't have life perspective, right? So we need to have those difficult conversations, even if they don't want to hear it, because if we don't have it with them, they're going to be learning it from social media or their peers, and that's a disaster, right? I mean, they need to hear messages and they get themselves into trouble. You have to make sure that you're receptive to it, and that you don't respond in a way that extinguishes that behavior in the future, right? So you want to say something like, thank you for coming to me with this. I know that that took courage. Let's sit down and help you figure out the solution. And so it's not really your job at that age. They are in a developmental stage where they have to figure themselves out. They have to learn and practice with your guidance how to be an adult. Because one day they're not going to have you there and they're going to have to make major decisions. And that's pretty quick, right? They go away to college, they don't have you there. So you want them to practice figuring, so help them figure out that maybe that wasn't so logical, or maybe I didn't think of that, right? Help them see that maybe the perspective that they thought was all-knowing is actually not that all-knowing, right? So, help guide them. Let's see about everything.
Acted, if I was coming to them and something went wrong and they acted with disappointment, how being open-hearted and patient with their process, even if we do experience disappointment.
But also know that you're the parent, you're not their friend.
Yes.
You're so much more than their friend, right? And so, sometimes kids will be sarcastic, sometimes they know how you are with them, right? Model that. They shouldn't be using names or making, comments that are inappropriate. It should be a healthy interaction. And then you also, they're going to be pushing against they're going to be trying to figure out who they are separate from you. And so it's really important guidance, because this is how they're going to self-reflect and take the temperature or the barometer of how they're feeling, and they have to know themselves, right? Like, oh, something's not right, something's happening that I need to change. And so, letting them discover who they are without feeling threatened, helping them, maybe they may question you, they may question your belief system, and that's okay. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
It's a process. Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Josh, I'm rereading it, and it's like we've already been having a conversation in my head because I'm rereading the book. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about how your experience was co-authoring it with Daji, who was the guide of the Heartfulness practice, and how it was for you revisiting some of the basics of the practice after having been integrated in Heartfulness for so long.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're reading it. Rereading it, yeah. I think it wasn't revisiting because I was still practicing. Right? I don't think that there are basic practices and advanced practices to water. Right? You have the same need. Right? And so I feel that and we require some kind of daily nourishment, especially to commoditize happiness and so many other things. My life, for my father's life actually. So back in the early 60s, he went to high school in Rome because his father was on a Fulbright. He was a philosopher and he was writing some book on medieval Christianity. Friends exploring the catacombs beneath the city, right? So so in those days, I mean, a lot of them were unexplored, right? So they would just go down there with their torches, and I don't know what they would do, but anyway. So they were down there one day, and he told me this story. I must have heard this story 1,000 times because, right, he was there, and all of a sudden he had this feeling come over him, and he didn't know what it was, but it felt sacred, let's say. And he just excused himself. He's like, oh, I gotta go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Because he had to be alone. He started walking down a passage. It's pitch dark down there. But he found somehow, he's told me, that he could see. And he switched off his torch. And he just proceeded, guided by this, I don't know, inner light, perhaps. I mean, I wasn't there, right? The feeling of being absolutely loved, by what, I don't know, the universe, of being a part of everything, of being connected to everything, just with tears streaming down his cheeks, just a very profound experience there. And then he came back and gradually, integrated back into his normal daily life, but a changed person. This experience, once he craved for it, he craved for something like this to happen again and again, and he never had any other experience like this in his life. And, and he's somebody with a lot of tragedies in his life too. And especially at the end, his daughter, his teenage daughter had been killed. And by the end he had that, and he was talking about that. And I'm reminded, there's some places in the Sahara Desert, like in Mali, places. It rains once in a year, right? And in that bloom, for a short amount of time, and then it reverts back to desert again. And he never had a practice, is what I'm getting at, right? For him, that rain came once in his lifetime, right? And for the rest of the time, it was dry. And he was remembering that time that his personal desert bloomed, And I felt, I wish that he could have had a practice. I was grateful that I had a practice from the age of, my early 20s, where every day I felt that inner blooming, And so for me, that's just been a really valuable thing. And it was just as valuable, it's just as valuable now for me as it was, So.
I think that's a good segue because we've gained so many insights from our panelists. We want to integrate them in the silence of a Heartfulness meditation session.
Meditation. Let's sit comfortably once more. that body awareness that you have. Now, become aware of your chest. Now let's center that awareness on the left side of the chest. And there in the left side of your chest is your heart. Let your awareness now be there. See what that feels like for a moment. Suggest to yourself that within your heart is the source of peace, wisdom, and light. And that this source of peace, wisdom, and light is attracting your attention and drawing your attention there to the core of your heart. Even when other thoughts cross your mind, when other sensations, you perceive them, or when sounds, maintain that connection to that source of peace, wisdom, and light there in the core of your heart. And let's sit with that for a few minutes until I tell you that the meditation is over. ask you to remain with your eyes closed for just a few moments. And observe yourself. Observe how you feel now that meditation is completed. Or simply enjoy whatever feeling that you have. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. Don't feel as if the meditation is over. Let it be ongoing.
Thank you for that again. So we'd like to open up another 10 minutes or so if you guys have any questions for the panels. We have mics in the audience. We'd like to know your thoughts and what you want the panelists to expand upon a bit. Is there a question for you first? We'll just wait for our mics over.
And then I can get into it right away, but it's been a while that I've done it. I do a lot of the other things, as far as taking care of myself, making sure that I eat well, exercise, and I love that I do that for myself. The meditation, I just don't. And so if you're just getting back into it, I mean, how do you just quickly, just like how long do I have to meditate for it to be effective? Or it doesn't matter.
So, in terms of effectiveness, I mean, it's effective meditating for a moment, you know. When we talk about effective, I think that inherent in that is a sort of goal-oriented conception of it. But I'm not criticizing you for that.
How do you feel? I mean, to me, it's I want to feel it.
Right. So how long does it take to feel that? So I think the best way to do it, for me, I tried many techniques. And I found that when I was able to get guidance from somebody, that was a game changer, right? As opposed to doing it from the internet or doing it from books. I was very skeptical about that. You know, somebody said, come along, for me, I was meditating with Heartfulness meditation. Someone said there's a Heartfulness trainer. I said, But eventually it took me 3 months to agree, and then I went, and I just had this most amazing experience sitting across from this guy. And, 10 minutes into the meditation, it was longer than what we did just now. It was maybe about 30, 40 minutes. And in that, maybe 10 minutes into it, I remember this smile appeared on my face, and I felt like such a dope. Like, why am I smiling? But it just came from inside. And I thought, something in this dynamic here, sitting with this expert, there's something in it. Something is happening which wasn't happening when I was sitting by myself. And so that was a game changer. And, and so I can only speak to my own experience, And so I found that this training was free. I mean, in the beginning, Dr. Rohit, he said it's inexpensive. It's very inexpensive because it costs nothing actually. Right? So I found that these trainers, I was in Cleveland, Ohio at that time, right? There were about 5 trainers in the city. And they were just always available if I ever needed. So they said, keep coming back, come once a week or however long, whatever's convenient for you, come once every 2 weeks, whatever. That constant, continuous support was there, which I found really helpful. It wasn't like, here, I'm going to teach you to meditate, now off you go. No, it wasn't like that. I'm going to teach you to meditate this week, I'm going to sit with you next week, I'm going to sit with you the week after, and anytime you feel that you need it, I'm there. And it's just a generosity, there's nothing in return. And I don't know what it was, but it was so helpful. And the more I sat with them, something magic happened. And then that sort of would empower me, because I would go home from those sessions and something would have changed. So now I had a new experience it is as if I received a new state of being when I was sitting with them. And then at home I had that to develop and work with. So it was something like I got an infusion. And then I was at home and I had something new and I developed that, and that would go on increasing. And then that would come to a sort of homeostasis. And then I'd go back again, and something new would happen again, and then I'd work with that. So for me, in terms of how long, I mean, with that particular intervention, it was immediate. Now, how long? Well, I mean, I'm still on my way. It's not like, I finally found that connection. No, I'm still, I'm still on that path, just as I was on the first day. 22 years later, I'm still on that path. But for me, the point is the path, and that journey is more important, and that's a lifestyle, and that's an attitude, much more than, I finally got that connection secured, I'm out here, So, that's the best I can do.
Thank you very much, Jen. And then, just no, I think that it's good for other people in front of you.
I have 2 questions, one related to an adult, another with the teenage. So first I'll go on to adult. So certain time, even I think now we are in such a generation, I cannot say that nobody knows meditation, nobody knows yoga. We all know, a lot of tools are there. After that also, there are certain kind of disappointments are there. So there are certain kind of struggles are there. And success gives you happiness, failure make you down. So now we learn that one, okay, with your expression, somewhere you feel and then you feel yourself down. And you take your own time, like some people within 1 hour, some people within a day, some people is taking certain time, okay, to come. These are all okay for person like when we are going through, and we are going through a lot of struggle, then coming out challenges, then learning from that part. It's not like that I just do the meditation, I take my time. So it is okay to be not that okay immediately. That is first. Second part, a teenager. So I'm a first generation here, and my study and everything. I'm an engineering graduate and also a technical manager. So I came here. I did not study anything here, but I learned a lot of things because my job and all moved me like you. So we don't know how this moved, because at that time this social media, this app, this mobile, TikTok, nothing is there. So what we find out is that we try our best to build the things about the teenager, but they move actually. There is a transition between elementary to middle to high school, specifically middle school and high school. We find even a very interested child enters slowly changing into that social media mode. Okay, very much. You are putting so many rules, so many things. Few days, every day you are opening up and thinking, I am a very happy parent, very positive, and after a certain time. So that part we find that one, a very focused and very active child turn into social media and slowly losing focus on everything. And like, I think somewhere you mentioned feel to be content, somewhere you mentioned that give them their own relaxation time, how they can do it all. We are giving out that, but always find that but after a certain time period, there is a social pressure. Like with my friend circle, how we are going to handle those social games, those social talk. So how we are going to handle those things basically and bring them back. Is it okay? Allow them? Okay.
Two questions apart. Dr. Raghunathan, why don't you address the first concern about this process of the ups and downs and the vacillations of disappointments and how to accept those differences and how to maybe move forward into a more contented space?
Yeah, so I think the first question was, is it okay to take your time to recover from experiences and go through sadness? If it's an analogy on the physical side, if you get physically hurt, it's going to take a little bit of time for your immune system to kick in and repair your, whatever it is that you have. Similarly, psychologically, you need to, typically what happens after, especially a traumatic event, or even a big negative event happens, is that you go through what is called intrusive rumination. It's called intrusive because you don't have control over when you're ambushed by those thoughts. You don't have control over it. It's replaced over time with what's called deliberative rumination. And deliberative rumination is very useful for you to come to terms with it, to gain perspective from it, to identify deliberative rumination and the lessons that you've learned from that negative event, right? So we do take time. The question is whether the intensity and the duration of those negative emotions are too much. And you have to kind of like step back from that event and assess that for yourself. Nobody else can tell you that. But because of that intensity and duration, you're starting to be unhealthy in terms of your, taking care of yourself or in terms of your relationships with other people. It's starting to affect your outcomes in a negative way. Then I do think that.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Fierros, you can talk to the concern around social media a bit more.
Yes, so this is not, this is super common. This is a very common problem that I see. And what I tell parents is remember that you're the parent, and if they have expectations from home, right? For example, they have to complete their homework, they should all have chores, that they do just be part of a team, which is their family, then that has to be done before they have. And this is a conversation you can sit down and have. First, you need to get on board with your partner, make a plan, be a united front, and then sit your kids down. And the older the kid, the more input they should have, right? So this is when you have, the older they are, the more you want to teach them to negotiate. So you tell them what you and your partner have decided, and that it's necessarily going to be taken, right? If they say, well, we think we should have no restrictions, well, sorry, that's not going to happen, right? But this is the baseline, and this is what we can negotiate. And the art of negotiation is very important because they need to practice this with you. They need to tell you, this is what I want. I hear that you're giving me this restriction. I don't think I should have it. I think I should be able to come home at 11 instead of 10, whatever the restriction is, right? Okay, tell me why you think you've earned that. Tell me what you're going to do if we agree to continue to earn it. And tell me what the consequence is when you don't comply with this agreement, right? And so it's a contract that you're having with them up front. They know exactly what the consequence is. They know what they have to do to maintain whatever agreement you all are into. And it's something they can expect, something you mean. Never say something you don't mean. So if you're not sure, take some time, make sure you mean it. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Because if they learn that you said this, but you really did, you go into it that way. And remember that they don't get the phone if you don't want them to have the phone. If you need to turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the Wi-Fi. You're the one who's in charge. Do it with kindness but firmness, and let them know that you're doing this to protect their mental health, their sleep, and whatever restriction you have to put, if you feel like they're doing things they shouldn't do. Again, you need to have these conversations, right? With anyone or adult. All these difficult conversations you need to have. If you feel like you can't trust your child, then maybe you need to download an app that really has you monitoring that. Privacy is not a right, and we have to protect our kids, right? Now we want to give it to them when they've earned it. And so, this is where you negotiate and you work with your kid. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yes, you're absolutely answered that question.
I think we have as well, and for all of you for your insights and sharing all of your respective expertise. So thank you so much. A round of applause for our panelists. So, really enjoying that panel discussion, and Josh for leading us through the meditation and relaxation. So to conclude, we just have two special invitees. Greg Hunch serves as Executive Director of NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness Texas. He joined NAMI Texas in 2012 and had previously served in government affairs roles. In his current role, he is responsible for providing direction and leadership towards the achievement of NAMI Texas. A family member of a person with a serious mental illness. One of his proudest professional achievements is earning NAMI's Richard T. Greer Advocacy Award for his outstanding work, leadership, and service on behalf of all people living with mental illness. Greg?
Thank you so much for having me at this very important event. It is an honor to be here. Again, my name is Greg Hanch. I serve as the Executive Director of NAMI Texas. About NAMI Texas, and then discuss how the work that's being done through Heartfulness fits into broader efforts to support positive mental health outcomes. And I'll conclude by sharing a few resources with you. NAMI Texas is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the quality of life for individuals and families affected by mental health conditions. We are part of NAMI, the nation's largest grassroots network dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental health conditions. Across the country, thousands of trained NAMI volunteers bring peer-led to NAMI affiliate organizations. These programs and these support groups provide outstanding free education, skills health education classes, and support groups for family members, individuals, parents, caregivers, and more. These programs are offered free of charge and are led by people who have a lived experience with a mental health condition. For an individual with a mental health condition attending one of our programs, likely outcomes are personal growth, healing, and recovery. You can access any of these programs through NAMITexas.org and NAMIs across the nation. Our programs heavily emphasize the concept of recovery, which is a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live self-directed lives, and strive to reach their full potential. The rise of the concept of recovery signals a dramatic shift. When a person has a mental health condition, we now expect that they will get better if they receive the right services and supports. That was not necessarily the case 50 to 75 years ago. Today, 2 in 3 adults, that's 2 out of 3 adults who have ever had a mental health condition, consider themselves to be recovering or in recovery. Over 50 million Americans consider themselves to be in the process of recovery. So the foundation of recovery is hope, and I've heard hope mentioned a few times here today. Hope is the belief that mental health challenges and conditions can be overcome. A person's recovery is built on their strengths, their talents, their coping abilities, resources, and their inherent values. It addresses the community, and it is supported by peers, by friends, and by family members. The process of recovery is highly personal. It looks different for everyone. And recovery clinical treatment, medications, faith-based approaches, peer support, family support, self-care, and other approaches, including things like the wellness strategies that we've been discussing today. Recovery is characterized by continual growth and improvement in one's health and in managing setbacks. Setbacks are a natural part of life. Now, resilience is successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences. including the normal stressors that everyone experiences. The resources and skills associated with resilience can be cultivated and can be practiced. That is to say that you might not necessarily be born with resilience, but it's something that you can develop by using proven strategies. The American Psychological Association lists 4 components of increasing resilience: connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning or purpose. Within the wellness component, the American Psychological Association recommends practicing mindfulness. They say that mindful journaling, yoga, and other practices like prayer to deal with situations that require resilience. The work that Heartfulness is engaged with aligns with broader efforts and understandings of the mental health community. NAMI has a program called NAMI Hearts and Minds, focused on the clear and critical need to care for mental health and physical health simultaneously. We believe that understanding this connection and synergy is vital to improving overall wellness. NAMI Hearts and Minds is a wellness program designed to educate and empower you to better manage your health, both medical self-advocacy, concerns with self-medicating, listening to your body, managing prescriptions, diet, exercise, peer wellness, and more. Notably, the program endorses mindfulness, focused relaxation, and meditation as key strategies for managing wellness. As a 21st century mental health community, we know that it's best to intervene before a person reaches the point of a mental health crisis. The earlier that an intervention can occur, the more likely it is that wellness can be attained. We also, not just people who are sick. We've supported population-wide efforts such as public awareness campaigns that address stigma and encourage help seeking. We believe that there is a value in having mental health literacy classes in schools to normalize mental health conversations among the nation's youth. We know that the social determinants of health can affect mental health outcomes purely on the basis of the features and the resources that exist within a person's particular zip code. Just as there is a growing understanding and body of evidence that people with mental health conditions can get better through the process of recovery, mental health prevention efforts are on the rise. Specific mental health problem has been identified. This is a relatively new field of study, but the practice of mental health prevention has existed for quite a long time. Some of these are ancient practices, in fact, even if they haven't always been called mental health prevention. I believe that Heartfulness is at the cutting edge of making the connection between key wellness strategies and mental health prevention. Going back to the theme of this event before I wrap up, I want to talk about joy. It has been NAMI Texas is eager to work with this community on achieving our common goals: wellness, recovery, and joy for all. Now, if you're interested in mental health resources, a great place to start if you live in Texas is mentalhealthtx.org. We have a treatment locator that you can use and by entering your zip code and finding resources where you live. If you may be experiencing a mental health crisis, you should know the number 988. Everyone should know the number 988. That is a 3-digit number that you can call or text 24/7, 365 for mental health crisis resources. If you're looking for something in the mental health realm and you benefit from having someone to talk with about it, we're at namitexas.org, 512-693-2000. We are here for you not just in Texas, but across the nation. Thank you all for the joy of sharing this space with you. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Greg, for the work that you do and for all the resources that we no doubt need to have access to. So our last special guest, we would like to welcome Ann K. Duffy. She currently serves as Mayor Pro Tem. Now, Anne has an extensive record of public service, most notably to our country. She served 13 years in the United States Naval Reserve, initially as a Naval Hospital Corpsman, and achieving their achievement medals and serving others is one of Anne's core values. She dedicates so much of her time volunteering in numerous health ministries and community initiatives. We look forward to hearing from you today. Welcome to the stage.
I think we can all agree it's been an amazing highlight to learn about all these different tools of how to find heartfulness. And I've always been familiar with mindfulness, but now with heartfulness. And as I researched a little bit about what heartfulness has to offer, I feel like my role, and I think we can all relate in our roles as leaders, as spouses, as parents, as influencers, whatever our role is, that we can take these tools and are in crisis, we can send them in the direction of the tools that they can use daily and strengthen it and strengthen relationships, because we know that's where we struggle so much daily. The woman who spoke about her children and trying to get them off of social media, I mean, I think we all suffer that sometimes. One of the things that I strive for every day in my leadership is to show up. And showing up sometimes takes every bit of effort, talking about how this is our journey and this is our path. And every day you find a different way that you can show up and serve others. And so thank you to all the experts for the tools that you've given us today, because not only do we want to continue showing up for others, we have to listen to ourselves first. Maybe you know where Cedar Park is, but it's the city that's just to the north of Austin. And we, in my role, I can't impact a lot of things, but like Emma mentioned, I serve a lot and volunteer a lot and amplify the causes that are around our community and bringing people together. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is we realize that, kind of talking about what Sean was alluding to with the people in crisis that need a lot of these interventions. I can only work with what I have, my resources in my city, and that I work closely with is our mom. In trouble and going into a system that's not necessarily going to give them everything they need to thrive and survive. But now we have this mental health unit, so we connect them with providers and resources that they need to get on the path to where they can recover. And then in our student health advisory committee, and it brings in different leaders and educators and parents and different folks. And one of the things that we put as a priority every time we meet is mental health. Now it looks different for other people, and and some, it's a lot more of what we talked about today. And I really think that I want to maybe impress upon my leaders that I work with that the heartfulness, that there's a lot of tools there that we just need to get out to as many folks as possible. So I thank you today for letting me speak, and it's such a refreshing day to have so many folks in here on a Sunday afternoon to show up for them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and for the work that you do, especially with law enforcement and with education. Definitely a sector that needs these kinds of resources. So as we close our program today, we sincerely thank you all for your presence and your intention. Like many mentioned, we are all catalysts of change as we change ourselves and ripple positive shifts into the world and the communities around us. We hope that today inspired you with takeaways of mental and emotional well-beings that you can use in your own depths, that we can review and cultivate. So we look forward to integrating those into our practices. And I think we'll all walk away with a lot of practical information. So as we close the curtains on today's Echoes of Joy session, we trust that what you experienced will echo far into your futures. And emotional and mental fitness, much like physical fitness, requires sustained practice and daily investment. So we'd like to leave you with one tool that you can use to improve your well-being in your daily life. And we do invite you to, and you can connect with panelists and the moderators and the people that have come and spoken on stage, as well as some other booths that are over there, and how to incorporate it for your own personal growth and for your own organizations. If you resonate with Heartfulness meditation and would like to integrate it into your own daily life, there is the Heartfulness app that you can always download. We're talking about easy access for apps. But like Joshua was saying, sitting with a momentum sustained. So we invite you to use this QR code. Then you can connect with your local trainers and your community here locally. So at one of the tables in the back, we will feature our guest, Maggie Gerskin, who is a wonderful human being, a experienced wellness educator, speaker, and coach with a history of working with health and the fitness industry. And Maggie specializes in wellness programs that combine ancient wisdom with modern science to create new personalized lifestyle habits for whole person well-being. So Maggie, would you like to say a few words, please?
Okay, howdy, hola, and namaste. It is my distinct for a bit here, and research has shown that if we sit for more than 20 minutes, we stop communicating and sending oxygen to our brain. So I invite you all to stand up, squeeze your buttocks, move your legs, raise your arms, do some knee bends, or if anybody's Spartan racers are here, come and do some burpees, right? I see it in your eyes and the messages that each of you have brought today. And guess what? We are human beings, not just meta heads. So right now, what have you learned? The one little insight, the one nugget that you've taken from each of these wonderful speakers that have shared with you and imparted their spirit, their passion. Where do you feel that? And I invite you, if you like, you can close your eyes, or you can bring your hands to your heart, or maybe to your theme to you from today's share. I want you to take a breath in as you accept and receive this wisdom and knowledge. And as you exhale, I want you to fill your whole body and mind with this energy, insight, light, and wisdom. And now as you exhale, I want you to radiate that energy and wisdom and light and have it touch your neighbor, the people in this room, and fill this beautiful room with this new light, this shared, elevated wisdom. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. We are here to be the mirrors to each other, and we are here to act on the knowledge and wisdom. So I want you to have that one idea in your mind. What is your takeaway today, your number one thing that inspired you? And guess what? We've got a goal. So when we talk about mental fitness, we are not here as blasé, as just people sitting by and taking notes. We are here to now have 21st century lifestyle skill sets. Number one way is to act on it. So take your number one thing that you have learned. If you've learned one thing today, now imagine how will you take action on that today. And now with that feeling, does everybody have that feeling in their head, in their mind, in their heart? Now I want you to turn to your neighbor and just share. Don't even say a word. Share that energy of what you have learned to continue this dialogue, to be the Deepak, the light to each of us. And so I say this because mental fitness is not a condition. It is what we do, like dental floss. Who brushes their teeth? Who's ready for mental hygiene, my friends? Awesome. So when we learn something, we now know that we have to use it. And here's something good happens to us, like this amazing, beautiful community of spirits here. We have to remind ourselves, put your hands together. Let's imprint this right now.
this is good. This makes me feel good. And when we feel good, we do better. So let's do that. Remember, life happens. We are here to be in full ownership of what happens to life and make that better choice. And to celebrate the small and the big wins in life, because the brain is not going to remember those positive things. It's going to be like Teflon. It's just going to slip off us. But it sure will remember the challenges, the scary bits. And right? We're here to remember the good, to celebrate the good, and to take action. Thank you, my friends. I look forward to hearing and seeing you.